there's a lot of comparison about an independent artist versus a signed artist. And what I've noticed recently is that there's this huge upswing into a lot of people wanting to do this for themselves or be an independent artist. But is that the best choice for you? Let's talk about it. So again, with the rise of this whole independent artist act, or everybody wants to be their own boss, there's more businesses than there have ever been, which I think is extremely dope. There's a lot of people pushing this independent artist. There's a lot of people saying, yeah, go out there, do it yourself. You don't need a record label, this, that, and the other. And in honesty, they're right. You don't need a record label. You don't need a contract. You don't need any of that stuff to get you to where you want to be. But there's some give and take that happens there, and the conversation honestly is not being had. There's a lot of you that are being told that, yeah, you can do this yourself. You can go ahead and you can be one of the biggest artists, and you don't need the backing of a big record label. And there's the key information that's being missed and being dropped out of this conversation. So first, let's talk about actually what it means to be an independent artist. Essentially, you're not signed to any major record label or any corporation or any other entity. You are the boss, you're the entrepreneur, you're the provider, you're the funder. You're doing it all by yourself. That's the whole point of an independent artist. Being an independent artist means you're taking on multiple roles. You're the manager, you're the booking agent, you're the promoter. You are responsible for creating and distributing your art, booking shows, promoting yourself, and then managing your own finances. You're responsible for your social media platforms. That includes TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Snapchat, whatever social media platforms that you find beneficial for you as an artist. One, you have to determine what those are for yourself. And then once you determine them, you have to actually put in the work and keep those up to date. You have to create the content. You have to create the content that goes onto these platforms. And this is all outside of making the music. Another thing that you have to consider, again, like I mentioned earlier, is the financials. You have to fund your projects. You have to fund the artwork for your projects. You have to buy the gear that you need to produce and to, record your vocals, right? Just depending on what type of independent artist you consider yourself as. If you're a musician or a composer like myself, all this gear I had to purchase myself. It came out of my pocket, out of my hard-earned money, right? I had to figure out how to do this. The house that I'm living in, that wasn't given to me by a corporation. I bought it myself, right? That's stuff that you have to take into consideration. The place where I'm even recording in now, I had to take that into consideration, right? Because nobody is doing this for me. You have to figure all this stuff out. Making the music, honestly, is the smallest part of being an independent artist, as crazy as that sounds. Making the music is the smallest, let me repeat it. Making the music is the smallest part of being an independent artist. It's everything else. It's the whirlwind that I like to call it. It's everything around it. That's what's going to determine if you're actually successful at this whole independent artist or independent music thing. Being an independent artist is not easy. You have to do everything yourself. Remember, anything that the label would have traditionally done for you, you now have to do yourself. You have to fully write your own music. You have to record your music and find a way to get it recorded. You have to find a way to get it mixed and mastered. You have to have somebody design the album art or do it yourself. You have to then upload it to your DSP for it to then be sent or distributed out. After all the hard work's done, you have to then market your music. You have to create some sort of cohesive plan to push your music or your project to the masses. And you have to do that consistently, time and time and time again. You have to make sure that all your metadata is correct when you're submitting your music. This is stuff that traditionally that a manager or your label would do for you. You have to find the resources to get all this stuff done if you can't do it yourself. And that's the part of the conversation that I think a lot of people are missing. And then a lot of people, that it goes over your head. There's a reason why a lot of people feel so overwhelmed when it comes to doing this stuff themselves, and why they ultimately quit. It's because in my opinion, they don't have the foundation. They don't have the discipline, or even if they have the know-how, they don't have the discipline to follow through and finish these projects from start to finish. While I do consider myself an independent artist, I acknowledge how difficult that it is. Then don't throw in this whole YouTube stuff. Like, I'm just doing this on the side for fun because I enjoy it, and I also think that it'll be a good source of information for you all who maybe don't have that direction that I didn't have when I first started. At the time able to identify with how difficult that this stuff actually is. You have to determine your own finances. You have to really take control of your own career and decide where you want to go, and then actually start to walk down that path. And trust me, I get it. Everybody wants the freedom. Everybody wants to be their own boss. Everybody wants to honestly be able to say that I made this, or I did this myself, or I did this a majority of on my own. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money to do this. Whether you're buying your own gear, whether you're funding your own projects, or you're getting yourself, bringing in session musicians to help you bring your vision to life, or you're bringing in an artist to draw the artwork. Again, there's so much more that goes into being an independent artist than just making the music. That's really the smallest part of it. So I'm not here to discourage anybody from being an independent artist. I'm not discouraging you to try to do it yourself or figure it out. What I'm here to tell you is that it's so much bigger than just making the music and then releasing it, because you'll fail. You'll fail that way ultimately, because again, you just have to cultivate an audience. I can go on and on and on about the reasons for and or against being an independent artist. My whole point of making the video is to make sure that you all are aware of the different things that you actually have to go through when you're doing this music thing. In conclusion, I like that people are pushing the narrative to be an independent artist or to do this thing yourself. But let's be realistic, and you have to be realistic with yourself. Are you doing it just to say that you're doing it yourself, or that you made it, or you grind so hard that you made this thing happen yourself? Or are you doing it because you just don't have a choice? Me, I don't have a choice. I didn't get approached by Universal to say, hey Taylor, I want to sign you to compose and produce for me. No, I had to figure this out myself. And this is the path that I decided to go down because I didn't have a choice. And I'm making the best of it. I'm doing what I have to do to get to where I have to go and where I want to go. So when you're making this when you're having this conversation for yourself, this is not to demotivate anybody. This is to be realistic and make sure that you set realistic expectations for yourself, and understand that there's more that goes into being a musician. There's more that goes into being an independent artist than just making the music. That's the smallest part, and that's the easiest part, is making the music. All right, y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Again, I didn't make this to be a downer or anything like that. It's to be more realistic and make sure that you all understand that to do this yourself is going to require a ton of hard work. It's going to require sacrifices. It's going to require time. It's going to require money. It's going to require the amount of focus and researching. You're going to have to do a lot of different things to make sure that you're putting yourself in the right position to be successful. Think about it. All right, y'all. Peace.